Okay.
You're on.
All right, we are ready to start and call to order Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yeah.
All
Oh,
right,
yours
we'll
might be
start
lower.
by reviewing the November 5th, 2009 meeting minutes. See if anybody has any amendments they'd like to make.
They look good to me.
Read through these, they look fine to me too.
Would like to move that we accept the minutes for the November 5th, 2019 meeting. As
Second.
provided.
I'll second that.
Aye.
Aye.
So looks like next up we have a director's report. Priscilla?
So programs and events, you will see that October was a very busy month. 887 people attended programs at the library in the month of October, and I had trouble fitting everything on one page. So it was a very busy month. I'm not really sure why it was such a busy month, but it was, with some very well-attended programs. We also had the second graders from the local elementary schools were here, so that they all came for a library tour and an activity, so that bumped the numbers up slightly. 128 of them. But yeah, so it was a busy month. November was a little bit calmer, but still had almost 600 people attending programs during the month. So, and then we have some programs coming up. We have the holiday concert and sing-along. David Polanski, who's a musician who has done a concert for us before and was very well received. People really enjoyed him. He is coming to do that. That will be on Monday, the 16th at 6 p.m. So please, if you're looking for something fun for all ages, come and have a little holiday festivities. We currently have up in the Fells room, we have an exhibit of the work done by our knitting and crocheting groups. It actually takes up almost all of the walls in the Fells room. There's some beautiful pieces up. So if you have a
Such
chance,
talent.
you'll have a
Such
chance
talent.
to stop and look. Trying to figure out how to hang things like Afghans was a bit challenging, but we have them up. We've actually had people ask about buying them, so I had to go to a couple of the knitters and be like,
Nice.
hey, would you be willing to sell these? So.
The ultimate compliment.
Yes, really. On New Year's Eve, if you are looking for something to do, we are having a bad art contest at the library.
Oh, I could qualify for that.
We are going to, we borrowed the idea from another library, but it seems like a good way. You know, we end up with these odds and ends of craft supplies and art supplies and so on from all the things we do during the year. And so we're going to put them all out with some canvases and see who can make the worst art. And
Sounds
there
like
will
fun,
be
actually.
there will be
Something like
different
a
age
banana
categories.
contest.
So for little ones
Take
up
to
to
a wall.
adults. So come make some terrible art on New Year's Eve. And then coming up in January, we have a program on homeschooling in Massachusetts and getting started homeschooling. If anyone out there is interested in homeschooling their kids or has questions, wants to know where to go for resources, it is being presented by the Association for Homeschooling Education in Massachusetts, also known as AHEM, which I love that acronym. But we already have several people signed up for it, so that should be.
Do you
a
know
good
how
program.
many people in the town of Dudley actually homeschool
I
children?
do not, but I know that we see regularly,
Yeah.
see kids in that homeschool, and we've also had a couple of people who have mentioned that they're interested in learning more about it. So this is, the woman who's going to run it is, has homeschooled for many years and can answer questions about if you want to get started or if you are homeschooling and you have some questions.
It'd be nice to actually do something at our library, like for homeschooling, because I know that the people that homeschool tend to gather.
We do
and
have
do,
a
like,
lot of
social
we have,
activities.
especially the young ones, come to some of our story times and so on. And then the Raising a Reader group that is on Monday, that is the
Yep.
South Carolina
Registration
Partnership.
required for that event?
Encouraged but not required. The woman who is running it says she just wants to have an idea of how many handouts and so on to bring with her, so.
Okay.
But yeah, so come sing next week, and then on New Year's Eve, come make some bad art.
What time is the sing-along?
The sing-along's at 6.
Yeah, he's really excellent.
He's
a lot
he's
of fun.
wonderful. He's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And very talented. And so he will be coming and he said he does. My understanding is he does some singing and then he invites everyone to sing along. So it should be fun for all ages.
Great. Okay. Shall we go to the yes, the financials.
Budget?
Review the budget.
Actually, I had a quick question. On this first page, it says about the Mango Languages, about how you're not going to renew that subscription.
Yes.
What exactly is that?
So that is a website or a database that allows people to learn a language, similar to like Duolingo, for example. But as I said, it cost us about $4,000 per year, and for the past 3 years, we've had no more than 8 people use it each year. So the cost, and that, we have done marketing and so on, that we have that program, and I think people are, they want the apps they can carry on their phone. If they're
Right,
they want to
and
do like
it's-
Duolingo or something like that.
Some of them are
So,
pretty mondly. and-
Yeah.
If we're not offering that, is there something else that we have or we can get that they can
Well,
order?
so Duolingo is an app that a lot of libraries are using now, and it's completely free.
Mhm.
And it covers a gazillion languages.
Awesome.
So that is what we would steer people to. But the
Yep.
cost, when I got the renewal cost, I went,
Yeah, that's a lot.
wow, for the number of people who have been using it,
Yeah.
that
Mhm.
seemed like we could
Very high
allocate those
cost
resources
effective,
better.
right,
So.
I agree.
Thanks, just wanted to make sure. All right, financial update.
So we are in good shape financially. We actually have a couple of line items apparently we haven't spent anything out of. Some of the smaller ones, but still, we're in good shape for, certainly salaries and so on. We're right where we should be. Materials, we should be at about 50% at this point. Materials were a little over, but we will be doing some big book orders in the spring. We always do, to try to, identify where the collection needs a little sort of bulking up. So yeah, we're in good shape financially.
Okay, next up, the facility report.
So the HVAC system, as I think I said at the last meeting, we have an issue with our, there was some very odd banging happening in the children's department. You'd be walking around and hear this sort of thud, thud from overhead. Well, it turns out that the motor, the exhaust fan motor, on that end of the building has given out. Like a lot of things, I know like at my house, a lot of things only last 10 years, and we're kind of getting to that mark. So the exhaust fan motor just didn't have the energy to actually open and close the vents, so that we actually got HVAC in the children's department. So that part is on order. It actually had to be special ordered and manufactured for us. I gather the company doesn't just like keep them on hand. So we were supposed to have it next week, and they will be putting that in place. In the meantime, I don't know what they did. I think they just sort of propped open the vent a little bit so the bangings lessened, because it was a little disconcerting to be in the children's department, hear thud, thud, thud from overhead. And we also were having some trouble with a very annoying and very strange noise in the staff workroom, which turned out was a valve that was sticking. So they have fixed that, and now we are waiting for them to come and put the exhaust fan motor that needs to be put in. The guys were great, I will say. They came and they kind of climbed around, and while they were up there, checked a whole bunch of other things, and made sure that all the valves opened and closed at the right speed and everything. So we know that all we should have to do is put that motor in.
Is there an update on the sign out front?
So if you drive by the sign today, so here's the thing. When we got the part put in last week,
That's
the
what-
new
yeah.
part is in. I was having trouble, and this has been an ongoing issue. The software that we use to update that sign is very clunky. It is 10 years old. It is sort of bare bones. So I had called the company that manufactures the sign and runs the software, and was chatting with them and said I was having trouble getting our computer to talk to the sign, and they can remote in and see what we're doing. And so he looked at it and he went, well, that would be because the software you're running is like 8 years out of
700
date. And he's like, I'm not sure why you ever had that software. That software should never have been put on. So as of today, we have new software. I was on the phone with him for about an hour while we downloaded everything and connected everything and tested everything. We can now do really spiffy things like moving borders and pictures, and it's very fancy. However, when we finally booted the sign back up, because obviously it's been off because it wouldn't update,
I drove by and
We
it
have
still was blinky.
1.5 signs. So it's a
Yeah.
double-faced sign. One side is fine and one side is not. And the consensus is, again, was on the phone with them again, because it was powered down for so long, one of the power couplings probably gave out. So that part is on its way. It was already mailed. And I have already talked to the sign company to install it, and we are on their radar that that will need to be done once it comes in. So at the moment, if you're driving in one direction down Schofield Ave, we have a really cool sign that does really cool things.
That's why I asked. I noticed that on my way. I was like, what's going
Oh.
on? One side's on, one side's off.
Yeah, no, so there's
on?
one sort of, it's like half of the other side works. So we've decided that that's our way of piquing people's interest. They can only see half of the
did wanna
event.
see the other
So
side.
if they
I
want to
did.
know what's going on, they have to come
It's
in.
working.
That's-
Might cause a traffic congestion, though.
Explain that to the police.
Are we still dealing with the original contractors as far as when the sign was purchased and
So
installed?
the people who manufacture, so there are two different service people.
vendors,
The
right.
people who actually manufacture the sign, American LED, they're the ones who do all the software and everything. They're the ones who diagnose the problem. But then Graphics Unlimited is the people that actually do the, show up physically.
Installation.
So it's American LED that has diagnosed the issue, and when I called Graphics Unlimited, they were like, send me a picture, and I sent them a picture, and they were like, oh yeah, that's what that is.
Because the site is not 10 years old.
No, but the software that is in there is apparently should not have been put on in the first place, according to the IT guy
Really?
I talked to today, that it was the old software when we got the sign. So somehow we just got stuck with that, and he said the software that we've been using is the software that was designed for, oh dear, there's a blizzard, I need to remote in from 20 miles away and update the sign, not the software that you want to use every day, kind of thing. So the new software is fabulous. It is much easier to use.
How much are we paying for this new software?
We did not pay a penny.
Good.
It is
Thank you.
part of the, no, we don't pay a thing
Thank you.
for it. It is
Good.
part of having one of their signs.
Good.
As is, like, when they remote in and diagnose stuff, we don't pay for that. That is part of their upkeep of their sign. And they've been wonderful to deal with, I will say. It's,
So do we have an end date in terms of when everything will be 1.5?
when the
two?
part gets to me, and right now, all I know is that it
On order.
got sent out today, so.
With holiday deliveries, give a
Oh,
couple of
yeah.
days on.
It's like, it's the holidays, we're looking at a little extra wiggle room because of that, but just drive down Schofield Ave going in one direction, and
Just
you'll
don't
be
do it
fine.
going backwards. So it's Graphics Unlimited that will do the
Graphics
installation?
Unlimited does the actual, but not the one here in Dudley. The Graphics Unlimited office in Putnam is the only one that has somebody on staff that can work with these signs. So,
Okay.
and
But they're
again,
related.
They're related.
They're related.
I mean,
so-
it's the same
corporate.
company, but
Yeah.
it's not the one, it's not like they can just pop down the street, because they're not the
Right.
one, it's not the office here in Dudley. But I talked to Matt in the Putnam office today, and he was like, I'll make a note. Obviously, they can't put us on the calendar until they know we actually have the
Right.
part, but we are on their list that they will be coming out here, so. Yeah, you should have seen me when I walked out and realized that only half the sign was
Especially after spending all that time.
an hour or so getting it updated, and I'm like, look at all the cool stuff that we can do now, all the things that we were supposed to be able to do with that sign originally, and because the software we were using is so not designed for that, we haven't been able to do some of this stuff. And it was like, oh, look, we can do all this cool thing, but only on half the sign. But so, like I said, just drive down the street in one direction.
3/4 of the sign. All right, any other questions for Drusilla? No? Update on the bidding for landscape project.
So I talked to Mr. Ruda, the town administrator, about bidding process and so on, and the first thing we had to figure out was whether this project was going to meet the dollar amount where we had to put it out to bid,
What's that amount?
$20,000. So I contacted 12 landscape architects recommended by assorted other libraries and municipalities, heard back from, it's now 8 of them. The consensus is that this project, because, you know, the lot's never been graded and it's never been surveyed or any of that, that it could very well go to that 20,000 mark. So I contacted Mr. Ruda and said, okay, we're gonna need to put it out to bid. Now what do I do? And I have not heard anything back from him at this point. So, and he will need to get that ball rolling.
He's still the procurement officer for the town, so he probably has to work through
Yeah,
him.
he's gotta, we've gotta go through him for bidding process, yes.
How
So,
often do you meet with Mr. Ruda?
When I walk up and stick my head in his
okay.
office.
I didn't know if you had a
No,
a
no, it's
typical,
one
like,
of
oh, I
those-
meet with him every 6 weeks on
No,
average,
I stick my
or-
head in when I need something, and he's been very good about, you know, answering questions or whatever, but,
Yep.
and most of the time communicates by email, because obviously if he's out of his office or I'm out of
Right.
my office, it's hard to coordinate. Like I said, I have not heard anything back from him as of yet, but that's where we stand right now, that we're gonna have to officially put the project out to bid, but on the plus side, I now have contact information for 12 landscape architects.
Oh, that's good.
All right, update on MBLC legislative breakfast.
Yes, so Dudley is going to be hosting for the first time in another, what did you say it was, Pat?
April 2nd or 3rd? April 2nd, I think it was 2010.
2010, so it'll be 9 years since the last time we did this, but we are going to be hosting the legislative breakfast for Central Mass Libraries. We are, all of Senator Fatman's district, in other words, will be meeting at our library. This will be our chance to talk about the importance of libraries in the community and meet with the assorted legislators. And it's the town, we've also invited the libraries and their trustees from Bellingham, Blackstone, Douglas, Dudley, of course, Hopedale, Mendon, Milford, Millville, Northbridge, Oxford, Southbridge, Sutton, Uxbridge, and Webster. So invitations have gone out for that. Senator Fatman has confirmed that it is on his calendar. When I spoke to his assistant, I have not heard from the others. Blackstone Library will definitely be here because Lisa is on the legislative committee with me, so she's the director there, so I know she'll be here. The Friends will be helping to fund some of the refreshments for that, and Ed Bazinet has agreed to speak on behalf of the patrons of the library. You know, it's one of the things that they ask is that somebody, a patron, talk about the importance of the library and the community, and Ed will be doing that. We will also need to have someone from the board speak.
When
Start.
is it again?
It is February 28th. It's a Friday morning.
Have we invited Representative Durant as well?
Yes, all of the representatives from all of Senator Fatman's district have also been invited.
Okay.
So I think there's a total of 20-something invitations that went out today. MBLC, the Mass Board of Library Commissioners, will be arranging the official speaker, whoever is going to talk about the library legislative agenda. I've already been in touch with them, and we are on their calendar. So we're doing pretty well, but put February 28th
What time?
at 8 a.m. on your calendar.
And what day of the week is that?
It's a Friday morning.
Friday morning.
And I'm just going to sleep here the night before. So by the time I get here early enough to get.
Well, that time of year, you may
But it is,
snow and all.
yeah, we'll have to see what the weather forecast is. But we are, I've been given a sheet of instructions and all of the things that MBLC wants to happen at this, and we are about halfway through it right now with, you know, with all the things that I'm supposed to do. So we are in good shape for this, but we will be reminding you as the date gets closer that everyone who can attend should, and yeah, be ready to talk about how wonderful our library is. I recruited a patron today who stopped me to tell me how much better
Would we
the
want
library
to,
was than his old one.
excuse me, would we want to invite the selectmen?
They'll also be invited, yes.
Okay.
They are, yes. So the selectmen, the trustees, obviously Mr. Ruda, and then all of the representatives who are from those towns. All of the library directors and their trustees from all of those towns. So this could be a reasonably packed event. So, and yes, I have on my note to contact the funeral home about overflow parking.
Oh, okay.
I've already gotten that far, so.
Plan ahead, that's good.
Update on 10th anniversary plans?
So the 10th anniversary committee met, is this our third meeting? Something like that. I'm losing track. And I think we're in pretty good shape. We are planning sort of it'll be Saturday, it's July 11th, from 10 to 2, and we're planning sort of a family festival kind of event. We will have speechifying at the beginning, of course. We're going to be unveiling, hopefully, the plans for the vacant lot, assuming we have plans for the vacant lot. We'll be putting a plaque or dedicating a plaque for the Hale Stevens millstone that's out front. We will have live music. He will be coming at 12:30 to play for an hour. We're going to try to get the local school choir, the show choir, to come for an hour in the morning and sing. We are going to have a face painter. We're going to have a sort of roving magician and balloon artist there. And we are going to have food trucks. So we're going to have an ice cream truck and
Need
burgers
some
and hot
overflow
dogs
parking
and so
for
on.
that as well.
Yes, that is also, we will be borrowing the funeral home for that as well. So it should be a fun event. The library staff since we're normally closed on Saturdays during the summer, the library staff have already been asked that if they can work that day, we'd like to have them so they can give tours of the building. And Ed Bazinet will be in the local history room with information about the history of the library and some of the pictures and so on.
Excellent.
That's on his calendar too. He confirmed that with me today. So
Alrighty.
it should be a fun event.
Well, thank you to the committee members for planning that. It sounds like a very interesting and very festive day.
I like the food truck idea. That's exciting.
Ben is our food truck coordinator.
I love food on trucks. All right, review of library policies, lost damaged books.
This is really more for information. I don't have any changes to suggest for it, but it seemed like it was a good idea for the board to know what this policy was.
Short one.
So we don't have to approve this, or just?
I mean, like I said, I don't have
She
any
doesn't have any
changes to suggest to it. I just wanted to, have the board be aware. It's, this policy works well. We don't send a lost notice out until it's almost a month overdue.
Yeah.
And at that point, if somebody finds it and returns it to us on a Friday, they basically don't incur any, because it's fine-free Fridays.
Fine-free.
And once they return it, we wipe the cost of the book. So it seems to work well, and we do have patrons who take advantage of the you can replace the damaged or lost if it's the exact same item, because often you can go on Amazon and get the identical item, and we walk them through what identical means. It has to be the exact same thing, but it'll be cheaper than what we pay through our vendors. So we do have patrons who take advantage of that.
Are the policies indexed somehow?
I am working on creating an index. They are all of the ones that the board has approved are on our website.
Okay.
And I have a binder sitting on my desk right now that I've gathered all of the policies that I could find, that are sort of, we really don't have that many policies. I don't think we need an exhaustive, these are policies about patrons and these are about books.
Do you think we're missing any?
I haven't come across any that I really feel that we're missing. It took me a while to track down all of the ones that we had and went through them, and nothing has come up that is not covered. It's not to say it won't.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
But most of our policies, like the patron behavior policy, are very comprehensive. I've only had to refer a patron to that once in, 10 months, so that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Most of our policies were done well enough that they kind of cover what we need them to cover.
And where are the policies kept?
They are all on as I said, they're all the ones that the board has approved are on the website, and then the binder is in my office as well. And then copies of patron behavior and so on are out at the front desk as well.
Alrighty, any comments or observations?
Well, I'm curious how the Friends did for their baubles and bling.
Oh, yes.
I do not have a final number because I don't know, they just met yesterday and they hadn't had time to tally the expenses versus the income, but I believe that they made over $700.
Oh, congratulations.
It went very well, considering that just about everything was $1. That's a lot of jewelry.
Yeah.
It went.
So I might have missed this, but I don't think there was a tally known for the book sale at the last meeting.
Last I heard, the last book sale was 1,600. And the last book sale was, which again was yesterday that I got that tally. The last book sale, they did comment that it was much slower than most of their
Yeah.
book sales. They did not do as well as they usually do. But the comment today was, well, I guess the baubles and bling sale will pay for a couple of programs, so.
That's good.
And did they find the baubles and bling, was that very hard to put on? I mean, I know
No.
the book sale is labor intensive
Yeah,
for
no,
them.
it actually, a big part of it, and, you know, and I put in my report, and I do want to reiterate that the
Right.
staff, you know, they would have a slow period on the desk, it would be quiet, and they would go in the back and start sorting jewelry, which was the biggest thing, is, okay, this is an earring, and this goes here, and this is a necklace, and this goes here, and, you know, the Friends had boxes out with each kind of thing put in them. But aside from that.
So
and-
that was
and
the majority of it?
making sure that nothing was broken, obviously, that was the
Excuse me.
biggest part of it.
Okay.
But then, you know, pricing and so on, they knocked that out in an afternoon. What was $1, what was $3, and what was $5.
Yeah, if you
and
don't
they-
have a lot of different prices.
And the setup took a couple of hours on Thursday. It was a lot faster than setting up for
Hmm.
book sales. And then putting it away was really easy. They just had a box for $1 stuff, a box for $3 stuff, and a box for $5, and they just went and done. They were done in less than an hour.
Is the thought for this
And
to be
where
an
does-
annual event?
Yes.
This-
Yeah,
okay.
I think that's the plan because it did well enough, and the knitters, so many people came in and asked about the knitting and asked whether that's on display, asked whether it was for sale, that the knitters have volunteered that they will, given enough notice, they will produce things to be sold at next year's.
Nice.
As their contribution.
Well, thank you to the Friends for their
Mm.
continuing support. It's a very important part of the community and the library, and hopefully future success ahead of them. And if we're on comments now, I'd like to wish everyone a Merry Christmas.
Same,
Thank you.
Richard.
Healthy, happy, and a safe one as well.
Thank you.
And I extend that to our patrons.
Yes, all, anyone.
Absolutely.
While I am
Big
thinking of
television
holidays,
audience out
actually,
there.
Yes.
There is one item that is not on the agenda that I realized this morning I should have asked to be on the agenda, and that is, the board had voted to have the library hours on Christmas Eve be 10 to 2, but we left New Year's Eve off the list. And
Close it down.
but my understanding is that in past years, the library has only been open a half day on New Year's Eve, so I'd like to ask the board if they would approve that again.
What day of the
And
week
10
is
to
it?
2?
It's a
How does
Tuesday.
that work in terms of other
Right,
town
town does that?
offices? Is that anything of an issue here?
I have not the faintest idea what town hall is doing, but if the town closes, like for the snow day,
Right.
then the people who would
Wednesday?
have worked that day gets paid.
Mhm.
If we close and the town does not, then the people who would have worked those hours don't get paid for
Okay.
that. So it's an unpaid holiday if the board votes for it. But the staff are very much in favor of being closed that day. They would
I guess I'd like to know what the town hall's hours are that
Explain
day.
what happened on Thanksgiving, the Wednesday before.
Yeah, so the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, I happened to be up here bringing payroll up because I wanted to get it up early, and happened to be walking down the hall at 11:30 when the town administrator was walking down the hall telling everyone that they were closing at noon. And that is the only reason that the library was aware that town hall was closing early, that I happened to be here.
But I guess I need to know, like, so was that the town administrator saying
Yes.
you're closing,
Yeah.
like, on his good faith? So,
It was probably something that the Board of Selectmen decided prior to, but kept it under wraps until that day.
Yeah, so everybody in town wouldn't go home
That's
early.
happened in the past too, where we've had programs.
But, you know, the fact that the
scheduled.
library staff, the only reason that it was one of those, oh, yeah, and you guys too. And I was like, well, you know, we
Yeah.
can't just shut down. We have patrons
Yeah.
in the
Yeah,
building,
exactly.
so.
yeah,
But I don't,
we are a community
Do we
center.
usually leave early on New Year's Eve? Do we usually
my
allow the staff
understanding
to
is
leave
that in
early?
the past,
Yeah,
yes.
we have.
I think it depends on what day of the week it falls on.
It's on Wednesday, I checked.
So I guess I would want to know the town hall hours that day.
Yeah, I
I mean,
think,
people use the library. It is New Year's Eve, but it's a Wednesday. We're not open late. It's not like
Right.
we're open till 8 PM.
Yeah, but we're not gonna have a meeting before that. So, would we be able to approve that outside of a meeting?
I don't see.
I'm just not sure how that works.
Well, you could
So-
approve basing it on the town hall hours.
Okay,
right.
I'm down to approve
My
that.
feeling is I think
With
that
that.
we should go
I agree with you. I think we need to coordinate this activity
Okay,
going forward, at least to let the town hall
I was gonna say,
remind
then,
them.
then may I request, since, the town hall tends to forget that the library exists, since we are off-site, may I request that someone from the board remind the town administrator that if changes are made to town hall hours, they need to tell the library as well.
And historically, we've tried this and tried this and tried this. And honestly, as much as I was always saying we should stay open, it's easier for the patrons to know what we're doing
Yes.
in
If we
advance.
can-
And
Yeah.
I
ahead
would
of
propose
time.
that you close it too.
Yeah.
No,
Just,
Thanksgiving, the day before Thanksgiving,
not
it was
gonna-
interesting because
I would agree with
we
that.
had 2 hours' notice, and there were a lot of patrons that,
Yeah.
there were patrons that we knew would be coming in, and we tried to call them all, but that didn't necessarily work, and it was because,
there's no forewarning.
Yeah.
And I'd rather give the forewarning now so you can post it on everything and so
Exactly.
they know
Yeah,
what
right
we're
on the
doing.
door.
you know.
And they
I would
plan
feel-
accordingly.
I would feel better if the patrons knew, and then we didn't have somebody coming out at, 5 PM to run something in or get a DVD or whatever and discover what
Need
it
a
was.
motion for that?
So I was just saying, do we make a motion that Drusilla contact the town administrator's office to discuss this? And based on the town hall hours?
I tend to favor that it closes at 2.
I agree, actually.
What time do you, Wednesday,
Especially
so
because
10
we've
to
done
2?
it past years. If we
That's what we
hadn't
did
done it
for-
past
Yeah.
years, maybe, but if we do it every year, then I think we should.
Yeah, and as far as, I checked with the staff who've been here a while, and as far as any of them can remember, it's always been a short day on New Year's Eve.
All right, I would make a motion that we close at 2 on that Wednesday, and we communicate that to the town administrator,
Okay?
so that he is at least aware of that.
And
It
to
is our intent to
patrons,
close it 2.
Yeah.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
So,
Close at 2, I'm just making a note. Okay. All right. And does anyone have any further comments?
Well, just to wish everyone a Happy New Year.
There you go.
We won't meet until after the New Year.
Yes, the next meeting will be January 28th.
Lord, it'll almost be in February.
alright,
A long time ago.
motion to close.
Motion to dismiss.
So moved.
Dismiss.
So moved.
Oh, okay, all in favor?
Aye.
That's always unanimous.
Moved, that's the word I was looking for. Moved.